Yo, Courtney, were we doing just the same thing today? Anything different?
Nope.
You want like a higher fade? I could take the waves down.
Yep.
And then same lineup, enhancements, and then just clean up the beard?
Always.
All right, cool, let's do it. So the first thing that we're gonna be doing with his waves is literally just combing them out. Now, I'll take a wider tooth comb so I don't snag his hair at all, but what I'm gonna do is just comb it out in the direction that the waves are just naturally laying, because you don't wanna break up their pattern. Just use a wider teeth, and I'm just combing from the crown all the way to the hairline. I'm gonna show you guys how to actually blend into waves on this tutorial, and how to overall also do enhancements as well, and how to make the enhancement look super natural and actually blend into what he has going on. And for me, like when I first started out, blending into waves was actually, you know, super difficult. But in this tutorial, I'm gonna show you guys the fading system on what I do to blend into waves, still using a higher fade, and also how to actually prepare his lineup for enhancements as well. So the first step that we're gonna do is just go ahead and cut the hair down on top. I feel like this gives me a way cleaner base to actually go ahead and fade into whenever I cut the top down first. I'll usually place my hand right here in front of their forehead. That way, I just am able to catch some of these hairs, so the haircut process is a lot more comfortable. So on top, with him, I'm gonna do a 2 with the grain. This is a 2 guard with the grain, and I'm going from his crown all the way to his hairline. I'm just doing nice, consistent passes. But you can see how much hair is building up on my glove, and that's all the hair that I can just go and take off, so it's a lot more comfortable for him. And we're doing the same thing right here, just on the ridge. Now with waves, you don't want to take them too short, because when you take them too short, you're gonna start to see through the scalp. And I feel like it just doesn't give, you know, as full of a look. So I try to get a good, you know, a good length to where the waves are gonna lay down. They're gonna look nice and trimmed, but I'm not gonna be able to start to see through his scalp. And you know, for everybody that you cut, it's gonna be a little bit different. So you can always start with a longer guard and then cut it down. And then just whatever guard you use for that client, just go ahead and remember it. Now you can see all the hair starts growing from here. So sometimes for wavers, it'll be a little bit lighter here. So I'll usually go ahead and do like 1 guard up. So if I'm doing a 2 all the way around, in his crown area, I'll purposely do like a 2.5. This just helps to keep this area looking a little bit fuller. And then I'll go ahead and just blend the rest of that with a 2. I just keep on going all the way around. And you really wanna cut the hair in the direction that it's laying. But the reason why I'm using a comb is because I wanna lift that hair off of the scalp before I cut it. That gives me a way more consistent cut, a way more even cut. Same thing, I'm gonna put my hand right here to just block his forehead. This just is gonna help him be a lot more comfortable. So I'll go ahead, dust off my client, get straight into the next step. Now, after we do the fade, I am gonna show you guys how to actually do his lineup preparation as well, because especially, you know, with curlier hair, you wanna prepare the lineup so that it can actually last long. You don't want his lineup to start curling up and growing back, you know, the second day after the haircut. So you gotta prepare the lineup for that. But also, since we're gonna be doing enhancements on him as well, you wanna go ahead and prepare that so the enhancements can last as long as possible too. So just remember that here on the top of my fade, it was like a 2 with the grain. So now, since I just did a 2 with the grain to start my fade and start debulking this whole area, I'm gonna go open lever, so it's technically like a 2.5, and now I'm going against the grain. I'm cutting into the waves. I'm just going straight off the side of his head. I'm not really digging into it. And literally just opening up the lever and going into the waves, that's what's gonna help you blend into it. You just wanna be careful that you're not going too high, because then he's not gonna be able to have, you know, the waves on the side. Now straight under that 2.5, I'm going with a 2 closed. I'm going straight into it, and this is really gonna be the foundation of my fade. Now with all my fading steps, I do all my fading steps around the head. Like I really don't do one side then another side. And I feel like the reason really why I do that is just to keep me a lot more efficient. Even here, you know, if I know I'm gonna go and blend in his beard, I'll take this same guard and start blending in his beard. So now I'll do that same 2.5 all the way around, still using a comb. When you're at these longer lengths, guys, you wanna use comb. It's gonna help to really lay the hair down and give you a lot more of an even cut than if you're using a brush. And now right after I do that 2 open, I'm doing my 2 closed. I start all of my fades with debulking it. I feel like it just makes it so much easier to actually fade into the hair when you take that time at the beginning to debulk it. Like you might get excited and want to just do that, you know, that bald line and start fading stuff out, but this preparation work I really feel like helps the haircut go a lot faster, but also gets you to a way more, you know, quality result at the end of it. Now you can see that since his hair is going this way, when I cut it, I'm going against the grain. That's how you want to fade. You want to fade against the grain. That way, you know, you don't get any patches in your fade, any light spots that you have to go and detail out later. So same thing, right? We're gonna go 2 open against the grain, paying attention to his growth pattern, And right out of that, I'm gonna do a 2 closed. I'm not really scooping out, I'm just going straight up. Same thing, where I know I'm gonna go ahead and do his beard. So down here, I'll just go ahead and start blending that beard in. Now we can go ahead and set in that bald line. Now I have 2 trimmers, right? I have this trimmer and I have this trimmer. You see how this one doesn't have the cap? That's how I know that this is my harder hitting trimmer. This is my sharper trimmer. This is my softer one. So to set in this skin line, I'm gonna use my softer trimmer. And instead of going like this and really putting like a harsher line, I go like this. So I'm gonna go at the corner of his C cup and I'm gonna scoop up. I'm just gonna create that line. This is another reason why I feel like I like debulking, because I'm not gonna have a lot of hair that's gonna overhang on the sides. Versus, you know, whether he had a fro or whether he had like, you know, straight hair, if it's too long, it's gonna hang over and I don't really get to create that solid line as a base. And this is gonna help me, you know, spread out my fade and really do the rest of my steps. Now, if you guys have watched any of my scissor cutting videos, you know how, you know, I do point to point cutting, right? So this is almost like point to point fading. Sometimes, you know, in the beginning, you're scared of pushing your fade up too high, or you don't really know how to spread your fade out. For me, I use the same technique of, I have my top point, right? Which is that debulking that I just did, and then I have my skin line down here. So I know that as long as I don't go past my top point in the fade, I know that I'm not gonna push my fade up. The same way when I cut with scissors, if I don't cut outside of my guides, I know that nothing's gonna go wrong. You know, it's almost like, you know, if you're bowling and you have like those safety rails, you really know that, like, you know, really, as long as you don't do nothing crazy, you know that that bowling ball ain't gonna go nowhere else but between them safety rails. It's the exact same concept. Now at these shorter lengths, you see I'm using a brush instead of a comb, and that's because at these shorter lengths, you really want to go ahead and get rid of all of that hair that you already cut. Now, after you go ahead and debulk, now we can start setting in our guidelines. I'm gonna go ahead and clipper all the way open, and I'm gonna set in these lines. You can see that I'm fading in the beard the same way that I'm doing the fade. That's just gonna keep me more efficient. Now, it's super important that when you're doing these lines, you gotta spread your guidelines out. If your guidelines are too compressed, your fade is gonna be very heavy. It's gonna take so much more detail work. You're gonna go ahead and have to do things over and over again. These first guidelines, you really wanna stretch out, and then everything above the 2, you're gonna put those a lot closer. But these first ones, this is, you know, the majority of your fade. So you wanna be spreading these out. It's gonna make it a lot easier to fade, and also it's gonna just give it a way better look. You gotta think about it, like your clients, they're gonna look at the fade from, you know, essentially the front, right? They're not gonna have the same view that you have. So if the fade looks very heavy from the front, like when you're looking at them like this, they're gonna want you to bring that fade up. So you wanna give them that faded look. So go ahead and set in this guideline, make sure that everything is knocked down to that same level. And even here, I'm paying attention to that growth pattern. So his hair will go like this, but then it almost like starts to shoot back a little bit. And that's gonna, you know, that matters. That matters a lot. That's gonna, if you're fading with the growth pattern and you actually know the way that it's going, it's gonna help you have just such an easier fade. You're not gonna have to really fight with the hair like that. Over here, you can see it's kind of the same thing. The hair is wanting to go almost like back like this. Now, the next step that we're gonna do, we're gonna switch to get a comb instead. Now we're gonna do the 1.5 guard all the way open. And now I'm gonna start to fade into that 2 that I did. Now, I'm not gonna do the shaver, and the reason why is because on my client right here, if I do the shaver, he'll get like irritation bumps. So you can't just assume that everybody can take the shaver. Some people really can't. So you wanna ask them. That's a part of, you know, your consultation process, is asking, hey, like, does this irritate you? Or, you know, can I do this? Can I do that? You don't wanna just do cookie cutter haircuts. Cookie cutter haircuts will leave some people happy and leave some people not happy. Versus in your consultation, if you actually take the time to understand what that client wants, you're gonna be able to make everybody in your clientele happy. But it takes you actually asking those questions. So my first step is just my 1.5 guard open. I'm just going straight into that 2, combing the hair down. Now I'll go ahead and close that 1.5 guard. And I'm going straight into what I just did. It's really gonna look like I'm bringing up my clipper the same length. I'm just bringing it super, super close, because that's kind of like what I was saying. These first guidelines, you're gonna spread out a lot, but everything else above like this 1.5 and 2, you're gonna compress them. That's how you can get a higher fade, but yet still maintain any type of weight or waves or length that they just wanna have on the sides, is by compressing the top of your fade, but yet stretching out the bottom of your fade. And like I said, all these steps I'm gonna do around the head. Do a couple passes, comb it down, go ahead and close up the guard. Same thing, comb this down. Now, you guys are gonna see, I'll try to find ways to be more efficient, right? So if I already have this 1.5 guard in my hand, what I'll do is start to do a little bit of my lineup preparation. Same way that we were fading in the beard with whatever guard, same way that we're gonna be able to start to prep the lineup with the same guard. So this 1.5, now I'll go ahead and start to pass it right on the edge of his hairline. This is a part of our lineup prep. When it comes to that curly hair, is tapering down the edge up so that it can last a lot longer. Same thing, we'll go in, Fade in this beard a little bit. Make sure that 1.5 close just passed all the way through here. Now this is a step that's, you know, gonna depend on just your client that you're cutting, right? Because everybody's hair is a little bit different. But if you see that this kind of ridge is a little bit heavier, you can always go and taper down just the ridge with a shorter guard. So remember, before I did the 2, but I feel like it's a little heavy. So what I'll do to just better blend this in is do my 1.5 guard with the grain just on the ridge. Now we can go on to our next step. Now our next step is gonna be our 0.5 guard, and I'm gonna start with it all the way open. And now I'm gonna start to soften up this line and really stretch out the fade. Now you wanna pay attention to the teeth. You wanna make sure that there's hair that's actually feeding through this teeth. If the hair isn't feeding through the teeth, you're not cutting anything. I feel like that was one of the main things that I really struggled on in the beginning is I was moving the clipper a lot, like I was passing the clipper a lot, but I really wasn't feeding the hair into the clipper. I really wasn't being, you know, intentional. So I would spend a lot of time cutting hair, but I really wasn't cutting any type of hair. So after you go open, you'll go halfway, and start to blend out that line a little bit more. Then we'll go all the way closed. Same thing. And if you see any dark spots, this is where, you know, you can go and just kind of use the corners of your blade. And you can see that, you know, with my half, I'm actually going almost into that 1.5. That's because this clipper has a bit of a longer blade, so it allows you to skip guards. You don't have to go through every single guard. As long as you know what you're doing, you have like a strategy. So same thing, we're gonna go all the way open, then I go halfway, and then I go closed. You can see that I really don't have to spend that much time on each area, and that's because I'm making sure to actually intentionally feed the hair into the clipper. Same thing over here. We're feeding the hair into the clipper, close it up. Now don't forget, I didn't pass the 1.5 guard on this ridge here, so I would have to come back and do that. You want your fades to be even, so whatever you do to one side, you gotta do to the other side. And you see how the fade is already starting to come together? Now the reason why I like this last step of the fade is because as soon as I finish the fade, I can go straight into my detail work. So I feel like it's just a lot more efficient that way. So we'll go through, just go over my work a little bit. I try to use the guards as much as I can once I have them already on the clipper. Just you taking that time to go ahead and switch your guards up, that's gonna add up. It's gonna add a lot more time to your service. That's why when I have them in my hand, when they're already on the clipper, try to use them as much as possible. Same thing, go here and fade out this beard a little bit. You see how that heavy line come out? Same thing over here. I'm gonna go ahead and dust off my client real quick. Now, if you guys don't have an air compressor in your shop, you can always buy something like this, where it just has little buttons and it'll blow the hair off their client. It's a little bit stronger than what like a blow dryer would be. Now that I'm at this shorter length, I'm going back to a brush. Now I'm gonna start with my clipper all the way closed. And this first guideline that I set, I'm gonna go like halfway up. Go ahead, start to blend this out. And then 1/4, 1/4 right here. And then now we're halfway. And then now you can see that that bottom line's faded out. If I open my clipper, I can go straight into my detail work. I can go straight into detail work right here. And I'm just starting to just use the corners, just these last couple teeth of the blade, to just start to detail the fade. Right here. Then we'll go right here. Same thing. Especially in the back of the head, guys. Like in the back of the head, the hair is gonna be a lot coarser, right? So since the hair is gonna be a lot coarser, a lot denser, really, you wanna make sure that you're taking the time to really spread out the fade in the back. That's why sometimes you'll see that the fades in the back, even though you did the same steps, it kind of look heavier. And that's really because the hair back here is a lot denser than what the hair on the side is gonna be majority of the time. Same thing, going closed, 1 notch up. Now I'm halfway. You see how I really can get a lot done in just like a couple seconds? That's because 1, my clippers are set right, and 2, I'm paying attention to the actual growth pattern of the hair. So the hair falls off quick, all the way open, and I already started to go ahead and do some detail work. Now I'm not gonna detail this fade too much right now because the hairline's not done. You know, when you actually go and line up your client, that's really when you go ahead and you get into your detail work. Because that's where, you know, I feel like any of the imperfections in your fade, you're gonna see after you do the lineup. You know, when you're cutting hair all day in the barbershop, your eyes are almost gonna go like numb, if that makes sense. So you gotta, refresh your eyes, and that might be using the mirror, right? Like you can use the mirror, you can use your cell phone, take a picture, or you can just kind of reset your eyes. However, now I'm gonna go ahead and blend it in right here. Blend it in while I have it. And now we can actually get into our lineup prep. Now that the basis of the fade is done. You can see that how majority of that fade got done with really just 2 guards, the 1.5 and the half, and that's just because I understand the tool that I'm using. I understand the clipper that I'm using. And the beard got blended in at the same time, but now we're gonna go into his lineup prep. Mickey, this part of the video you can cut out. So now we're gonna go into his lineup prep. So you guys can see I already went and tapered down the hairline. Now it's important that when you taper down the hairline, you don't cut it down too short to where it gets light or that it doesn't really blend into what they actually have back here. So for lineup prep, technically I could just go and line him up. Like his hair is clean, he came in with no type of hair product, but to go above and beyond, I really wanna make sure his skin is as clean as possible because I'm gonna be doing enhancements, right? So I'm gonna do 2 steps, but in reality, most of the time I just do 1. So my first step would really just be using some spritz, but I'm gonna go above and beyond today for you guys on this video and show you guys how to do it with dry shampoo. So this right here is just a can of dry shampoo. This is a great way to clean your client's hair without having to take them to the wash bowl and really shampoo it. All you're gonna do is just, let's say this was my client, I'm gonna go ahead and just spray this and then I'm gonna brush it out. So right here, I'll put my hand over his forehead just to cover his face and I'll just start to spray this and I'm really just aiming it on his hairline. And then now I can go and just start to brush this out. This is gonna help to get any kind of oil from his skin or hair. Now I think the real takeaway, guys, is especially being efficient in the shop, you want to talk to your clients and you want to just educate them on how important it is to come and get your hair cut without product in your hair. Sometimes clients genuinely don't know how important it is to get their haircut without any product, but I go ahead and I really I educate my clients on that stuff to where a lot of times they'll come just like this where they don't even need all these extra steps of lineup prep. Now my next one is going to be taking a little bit of spritz. Now what I'll do is I'll just take a neck strip, roll it up like this, and just spray the spritz right on it. Just like this. Now I'll go ahead and put this on his hairline. This is a lot more comfortable than if I were to just spray, the spritz on his scalp. Also with this neck strip, I can go and I'm using a little bit of pressure to take any kind of oil out. But you can see his skin is already clean, so it's coming back, white. Now the cool thing about spritz, instead of just using alcohol, it kind of acts as a little bit of a hairspray. So since it acts as hairspray, it's gonna kind of freeze his hair in place. So I'll go ahead, brush this in, and then now, one thing I also like about spritz, it dries pretty quickly, but you could always go ahead and just use the cold shot on your blow dryer. And now he's ready to get lined up. Now in the beginning, to set in this bald line, I use my soft trimmers. Now these are my harder hitting trimmers. These are my sharper ones. Now I'm gonna go right here and just line up his vertical bars. Now I'm very big on trying to line up my clients as natural as possible without having to push them back. Especially, a client like this, he gets his haircut essentially every week, every 10 days, every 14 days or whatever. So you don't want to go and have his lineup from going right here all the way to back here just to give them a sharp look. What I've learned in just my experience, guys, not a lot of clients they don't really want that. Now what I'll do is I'll just tilt his head, and what I'm doing is my left foot is almost lined up with this vertical bar and my right foot is lined up right here, and I feel like this just evens me out and it has me on good ground to try to give him more of a solid lineup than if I was all crooked. So I try to make my body lined up with his lineup. Then I'll comb down the edges and I try to find a really strong point in his edge up, and I just go ahead and start in the middle. And you can see that the hair is falling off really easily. And that's because one, I'm using a sharp tool that I made sure to set for a lineup. And that's also because I prepared his lineup. You'll kind of notice that throughout the fade, throughout my scissor cutting, throughout my lineups, the more that I can prepare myself before I do it, the easier the whole process is gonna go. Now I set up a good basis in the middle. I have my 2 lines out here. Now I can just connect my corners. So I'll go ahead and bring over this one corner, come back to the middle, and see if I like it. I'm only looking at this part of the lineup. I'm not trying to go and get distracted with this side. I just want to look at this side first and clean up anything I need to, because I'm going to be comparing the right side to this left side. So I try to just get one side of the lineup perfect. Now we can go right here and line up this right side. And go right here and just line it up. Boom. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned with lineups is let's go a little bit at a time. Don't try to go and, do too much without looking at the lineup as a whole. And just take off a little bit at a time. Don't rush yourself, guys. Remember, you can always take off more hair, you just can't put it back. So it should go a little bit at a time. And now what I'll do is I always go back through and comb through or brush through my lineup. And the reason why is because if there's any hairs that are sticking out, I need to go ahead and I need to knock those out. And now, if I wanted to go ahead and detail my fade, this is where I would do it after the lineup. But now we have to go and actually enhance them. So I'm gonna be going ahead and using the Tomb 45 enhancement gun. Just take a little bit of color. This is the black one. It just goes and matches up with his hair super nice. So my gun is clean. I'm gonna throw some in, make sure that it's flowing good. Now I have my Tomb 45 card that you can tell I've used it a million times over. Now the important part when you're doing these enhancements is that you don't wanna just spray them on the line. You wanna spray them back into the hair. So for example, I'm not gonna go and just spray like this and angle it straight at the hair. I'm gonna spray it back into the rest of the hair. That way it can actually go and blend in. My enhancement gun is like angled up into the rest of the hair. This is gonna help it blend in a lot more. Same thing with the sides. I'm gonna try to angle it into the rest of the fade. That way it blends in a lot more and it doesn't just look like a hard line. And the same thing, just do a little bit at a time and then take the card away and then you'll see. Versus if you just keep the card on there and you spray like a lot, you're gonna take it out and then you're gonna be like, okay, it's way too heavy. Everybody has a different enhancement style. Some people like to do more and less and whatever. Me personally, I want the enhancements to look like an enhancement. I don't want it to look like, Sharpie on them. I just want it to enhance the hairline, right? The same way that you use styling products to enhance their look, you can just use enhancements to enhance their look. I just don't like doing, way too much where I feel like it kind of ruins the cut. And I also disagree with everybody that says that enhancements are like you're cheating or you're not a real barber. I think at the end of the day, you're just making your clients happy. And I think the barbers that do that are gonna get rewarded, and the barbers that don't, that they're gonna get the consequence of that too. Now guys, don't get me wrong, I could link a bunch of these things in the description. Like I love this company, I love Tomb 45. I could link a bunch of these things in the description. The purpose of these haircut tutorials is not to just link you a bunch of stuff. The purpose of these haircut tutorials is to educate you and to ultimately build your business. So I'm only gonna put one link in the description, and that's gonna be the link to the free school community, where inside of there we have a free business course teaching you how to make more money, how to build your clientele behind the chair, how to ultimately grow your business. And that's really what I care about educating you guys on. I could sell you to the clippers and stuff like that. I really just wanna sell you guys on education and on just helping you guys actually grow your business behind the chair and build your clientele. But to be clear, these are phenomenal products and I do recommend them. All right guys, so I'm gonna go and just start detailing up the fade. Now guys, all the products that I'm using, majority of them are just Tomb 45 products. All those products you can just get off the website. I'll put the link in the description just because there's a link that'll help you save some money. But honestly guys, like whether you use that link or not, that's not really the purpose of these videos. It's not really to sell you guys products. The purpose of these videos is to really just to help you guys really build your business, learn how to get more efficient, because ultimately my haircut content is good, but my business content's a lot better. And there'll be a link in the description. So what I really want you guys to check out is the free school community, right? In the free school community, there's a free business course in there that'll help you guys build your clientele. There's a tracking sheet to help you guys actually track your income. And honestly, my business content's a lot better than my haircut content, all right? So that's really what I want you guys to check out. I'm gonna detail up this fade and show you guys the finished result. Now I'm gonna go ahead and use my straight razor right here and just hit the ends of the line. And you can see that I'm getting like that ash effect, and that's because the skin is clean. Guys, if you guys like these POV haircut tutorials, you let me know, because I feel like you're able to see things you're not able to see with a regular angle. Like, look at this breakdown here. This is fire. And if you guys want to see specific haircuts, you have to put them in the comments below. The only reason why I have certain models coming in for these haircuts is because people have actually commented down the haircut that you want to see. Any haircut that you want to see, we can do. I can do whatever. I just got to know that you guys actually want to see it, whether it's a mid part, a blowout taper, a messy crop, a pompadour, wave cut, afro, you want to see somebody get their dreads cut off, whatever it is, we can do it. I just got to know that you guys want it in the first place, all right? Now, one of the last things I'm going to show you guys is how to actually get some of those. So some people will call them like roach legs. It's some of the hairs that's not laying down that could throw off the look. So all you're going to do is you can take a clipper, you can take a pair of scissors or whatever, and you're just going to go ahead and just like this. Just be very careful. And honestly, depending on the client, if they move or if they talk, you know, they move their head a lot when they talk, don't even use clippers. Just use like a pair of scissors or something. All right, guys, here is the final reveal. You can see we have a low cut on top, that the waves are so nice and full and laid down. A really nice fade here on the sides that contours to a head shape, still keeps everything full here. Faded into the beard, lined it up, and you can see we have some really nice enhancements right there. Straight lineup. Waves are really blended nicely into the fade right here, guys. Hope you guys like this haircut. I'm not the best barber in the world, not the best barber on YouTube, but I'm the best barber for my clients, and my clients love me, and that's all that matters. And that's all that should matter to you guys as well, all right? You see really nice lineup right here, nice full lineup that's gonna last them, give him longevity in that lineup. Now guys, like I said, the main link, the really only link that I want you guys to check out in the description is the school community, man. You get a free tracking sheet, you get free business videos that can help you to start building your clientele 100% for free. So check that stuff out, guys. Like I said, my haircut content is cool, but my business content is way better. You guys are gonna love it. So hope you guys love this tutorial. Check you guys out on the next video. Peace.